Welcome back to the channel. My name is Crawford. This is Virginia's for Lowriders. Today we are making some more progress on the Mazda mini truck body drop of the bed. We haven't worked on the truck yet. The videos are to come. Stick around. We will be making some bed supports from scratch, shortening the back portion of the bed that is close to the cab, going in and welding the wheel tubs in, massaging some fenders out, welding the back, and yeah, we're just working, so stick around. So one thing that I am doing with the truck while I'm doing the body drop is redoing the exhaust, redoing the 4-link, turning it into a 3-link, and a lot more. So make sure you come back around, check out the build. There's gonna be a whole lot of footage going on as far as that truck is concerned. I picked up some little tiny baby stainless steel V-bands. I just got 2 sticks of tubing for the 4-link in. Picked up some 2-inch stainless steel exhaust tubing, which I'll be TIG welding all of those things together, along with, if I can't find a bigger muffler, these are probably going to end up on the truck. These things are tiny. I have 2 of them. That's the only thing I could find in 2-inch stainless steel in like a cherry bomb-ish resonator. It's not even a muffler, but the truck's got antique plates on it. It really doesn't matter. I don't think it's going to be obnoxious even with those little tiny guys on there, but we'll see. But yeah, let's get to work. Somehow I managed to delete explaining exactly what I was going to do here. Pretty much going through hammering and dollying while basically laying on the ground, trying to get all of those big dents out of here, and welding in the tubs and breathing a bunch of toxic fumes that I really shouldn't probably be taking in, but it's too late now. So getting all that welded up, blowing off occasionally to stop the warpage of the bed sides, because right on the other side of that angle is the bed side. Again, welding, blowing, occasionally doing a little grinding. I'm using 3M little belt sanders. Just everything I'm using pretty much in this video is 80 grit. Except for the sandpaper that you'll see me use. That is 40 grit. So grinding and grinding and grinding. Probably the least exciting thing you're going to see on YouTube today. Possibly. Right here I'm using a cutoff wheel on an angle grinder to clean up the edge. There's actually a seam between that wheel tub and where it meets the bedside from the factory, and I was trying to retain that tiny little lip by using the grinder. And then that blue stuff you saw me spray on there, that is Dykem, and I was using it to help me correct any of the low spots in the extremely dented up fender wells. This side, not as bad, but again, pretty much laying on the ground and staring off into space. Just, I look so amused here. Just staring off into space and beating and banging. I got all of the welds for the wheel tubs ground down. Started massaging the dents out of each fender well, which you can see is coming out pretty well compared to the massive dents that they had before. All of these little tiny spots that you see here that are left over, you can't actually feel those, like they're smooth. I need to go ahead and weld both of these all the way down. Need to massage the top edges in to where they are like contoured to the rest of the bed shape. And I believe after all of that is welded in, I'm going to go ahead and cut off the bed supports because I'm not worried about it being all wonky anymore. I need to stand the bed up in order to get to the rest of the dents. Plus there's about 8 dents that I've counted in the bed floor. I don't know if you can really tell. There's one there. There's one right there where the tripod leg is. I can't get to any of that until it's standing up, and I'm hoping that once it is stood up, that I can just reach my hand in there and hold the dolly on the back rather than almost laying on the ground trying to hold the dolly or the hammer in order to beat the fender wells back out. Because I'm trying to make this thing look as good as possible before I get a bedline, because bedliner doesn't hide everything. It's best to make it look as close to perfect as you can make a 86 flimsy sheet metal pickup truck look, or 87, whatever this thing is. So I'm going to weld all the back panels in, cut the tops off. Here I go again, big brain me, sucking in all those great fumes. I didn't even have the door open this time. Here again, I'm just going over everything with, again, some 80 grit and getting everything ground down, smoothed out, and eventually sanded with 40 grit on a DA sander. And then following that up with cutting these bed supports off. Pull the back panel off, measured out 5.5 inches, because I got 5.5 inches of drop along the rear. So I need to cut out all of that. So that's what I'm going to do now. Fingers crossed that I get it like sort of straight. Here I'm cutting out the 5.5 inches that I was speaking about. I cut just on the inside of the line to give myself a little bit of room to clean it up. And I'll show you exactly what I'm talking about in the next clip. Got it all cut up. I took out 5 and almost 1/2 inches all the way across. What I did was go back and bolt the panel in on both sides. Bolt in the lower portion. Make sure everything is level and squared up to each other. And what I'm going to do now is take a bunch of these vice grips and snap them on here to get all of this pressed together, and then go through and scribe the panel to the other panel. You can do this by cutting both pieces at the same time, but I feel like with this one being so long and this panel's nowhere close to straight, I feel like this is probably going to be the only way to get it done, because if I tried to cut them both at the same time, I feel like it's going to end up really bad. But it looks pretty close right now. Like you can see, it's just barely trimming off anything. It's not that much, so I'm gonna scribe it and I can go back and work my way up to that edge. So I know that most people don't have an abundance of vice grips or anything like this. If you were to leave the panel long, say you left it this portion up to here, you can take just like self-tapping screws and just drill it into it. You have to weld all this stuff together anyway, so what is another little tiny hole? But I just have clamps, so I'm going to use them. I for whatever reason keep coming across deals online where I don't know if there's just a lot of old men in my area and a lot of older women that just need to get rid of stuff that their old men had. But I have a lot of tools from men that passed away. It's kind of weird. This man was a sheet metal worker, and he had, I bought like, I don't know, 20 pairs of these. It's not anywhere close to the extent of vice grips that I have, but just in that one single transaction, I picked up a lifetime of this style of vice grip. So they definitely come in handy, especially for stuff like this. Keep your eye on Marketplace. This is layout fluid. You'll see a lot of machinists use it. If you keep an eye out on Amazon, occasionally you can get this stuff pretty cheap. Another way to do this is with just a really fat tip Sharpie. You can achieve the same thing. But if you find this stuff on sale, it's like, I don't know, like $6, $7 a can, and it lasts for a really, really long time. It dries almost immediately. It's meant for stuff like this, so it's real simple. I probably should have sprayed this before I put the clamps on, but just a little coat as I paint my clamps, which obviously you can tell doesn't matter. This stuff, I probably put way too much on way too quick, but it all gets ground off and painted anyway. And it's on the back. This stuff takes like just a few minutes to dry, so I'm gonna let this dry. We'll go back and scribe. Alright, this is a carbide tip scribe. Again, I bought this off Amazon. I really need to just delete that app. But whenever you run this across the fresh Dykem, it puts a very bright and easy to see scribe on there for you. So all you do is take this, run it along that edge, tight into that edge. You don't want to be tilting this thing all over the place, and your scribe won't make any sense. Run that all the way across, pull the panel back off, trim up to that edge, and you're good to go after I get all the Dykem back off of it. But generally speaking, you're good to go. See, nice, bright, shiny scribe all the way down. I don't have to take off very much. So everything is cut or ground into the scribe line, and the mark is nice and tight all the way across. So now I need to get the TIG welder out and start tacking. What I think I'm going to do is probably tack every inch or so while trying to get this thing to lay relatively flat. I mean, this panel was pretty beat before I started. I massaged a lot of the dents out. I cut a lot of the dents out by removing that 5.5 inch piece. So the metal isn't the best thing to work with. Not the straightest thing, but I think I can get it pretty straight and good looking with some TIG welding and some hammering and dolly. It's not going to be a just welding and grinding. It's going to be a lot of beating and banging to get this thing 100%. Here I am going about every inch, giving it a good solid tack weld, and then following that up with welding it from one end to the other without stopping. I stopped occasionally just for hammering, just to straighten something out, but other than that, no stopping at all. Then, of course, following that up with a whole lot of grinding and a whole lot of beating it around, because that panel was extremely messed up. And then I forgot I had a planishing hammer. I went over there beating and banging for 3 hours, and I have that beautiful tool sitting in my garage and I never use it. And again, following that up with yet more beating and banging. Okay, so now I got the back wall nicely ground down and sort of ish ready for body work. Getting kind of burnt out on working on that right now. I got the wheel tubs ground, wheel tubs smooth, background floppiness anti-bar things removed. Stood the bed up. So now I can come in and hopefully massage some of these dents out. The main thing I'm going to do to kind of wrap this video up is make the supports for the bed to stop all of this, because I can't set it down outside without setting it on wheels or tires because there's no support there at all. So I need to come up with something to connect those two. The factory ones I had to cut off. I'm going to look through my sea container and see if I have any more of this. This is just a 1/4 inch rod, maybe some 3/8 rod. These are actually like, I don't know what these came out of. This is a spare tire remover. I thought I had brand new material, but I can't find it. And it doesn't bother me to use that stuff, so most likely that's probably what I'm going to use, unless I can find the other stuff in the sea container. So, more beating and banging, and trying to whip up those bed supports real quick. Alright, that's it. Pretty straightforward, super simple. I don't think I need to do anything crazy with this, considering this looks like most factory trucks tie downs now, or whatever you want to call this thing. Tighten those up and that's it. That support is made. I made a few other ones. Didn't really make sense to put making 4 in there because they're all literally the same thing. But I think this about wraps it up for this video. All I'm going to do now is go in and trim those edges and beat dents out. I'm not even going to bother recording it because you can't tell what I'm doing. So, yeah. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to comment, like, and subscribe, and hopefully I'll see you on the next one.